Hello, I'm Debra Wallace, licensed marriage and family therapist. My Positive Reframe is on politics. Now, I was raised to avoid conversations on topics like politics, sex, religion, and money. I've also noticed that many people feel a lot of apathy, feel like what's the point to talk about politics? It's very hostile, polarizing, overwhelming, these conversations, and they don't see the point. And really, nothing's going to change anyways due to how things are set up. And I want to validate. There's absolutely many valid points there. And really, this is happening. As politics is who gets what, when, and how. So I would like to reframe politics from being uncomfortable, feeling powerless and pointless, to vital and opportunities to empower, connect, and make change. And often as this climate that's going on right now, it's, as I mentioned, hostile, we use the words like fight. We have to fight. And yes, totally get that. As politics and whoever takes power has immense power to put in policies and change laws that dramatically affect our lives and people we love. It's a big deal. That's why I'm saying it's vital. And we do have more power than we really imagine possible. And if we all do something, we can make a difference. And being a marriage and family therapist, I often teach couples and families, parents and children, especially with your teens, that if we go in with them and our partners, if we go in to any important conversation that matters, that we want change, if we go in with an agenda and that we are right, we've already shut the door to growth, connection, and change. It's really important that when you have these conversations that you go in with an open mind and heart. I highly recommend nonviolent communication. I'm also going to share a link about the difference between dialogue versus debate. I think we have way too many debates going on, and it makes sense because all of us have vital needs. All of us have needs and feelings and are worried and fears. And I often suggest to focus when we have these conversations to really listen for each other's fears, cares, needs, and really go into it with a curiosity and wanting to understand. And I'll give a cue. If you're already, as you're listening to the other person and you're only thinking about what you want to say in response, you're not listening. And there is going to be no headway made. There's going to be no connection made. And that is the same thing with any conversation on anything, but definitely with politics. And I know it's hard. It's really hard. Yet if you want any possibility of change, it has to start first in here. So there's a few tips I'm going to highlight. Number one, you're going to choose who you're going to have these conversations. Because I agree, it's not worth having these conversations with everybody because some are just so set in their ways and it's just going to cause more suffering and you won't be heard and it's really rigid and it's going to be really hard to ever, it's just this to this. It's not worth it. But we do want to have these conversations in places, especially in our neighborhoods and families and friends and people that it really matters to us. So, choose where you're going to have these conversations. And when you go into these conversations, set your agenda aside and go into listen, saying, I really want to hear more about what you have to say. Tell me more. I often recommend open-ended questions to couples, parents. Tell me more. How come you feel that way? I want to hear more. And then my third tip is to really listen to your own nervous system. I'll teach everyone the scale 0 to 10. 0 means you're calm, connected, regulated. We can access our prefrontal cortex, whereas 10 is the most disturbance you've ever felt. Usually when we're getting to 7, 8, 9, 10, even starting to 6, as our nervous system starts going into threat mode, you're not going to be able to access your higher functioning skills, which means listening and empathy and understanding and all that great things. And we're going to pull from our survival and fear-based part of our brain. And this is where a lot of blaming, shaming, is where we all lose the plot. And so listen when you're in these conversations, when you're choosing to have these, or realizing you're in one, as soon as you catch that you're not in your body and you are in a more defensive, reactive state, we're not going to get anywhere there. So I encourage coming up with a phrase, and one that I recommend is, I want to hear you. What you say matters to me, and again, this is why you're choosing people that's important to you. You tailor your comment. Yet I am noticing I'm not in a place to hear right now, and I'm going to need to take some space so I can get to that place. And I hope that we can follow back up with this. Thank you for listening, or thank you for sharing. Thank you. I am noticing I need some space. Own your own feelings and then leave. And again, if it's realizing someone that you do want to follow back up, then follow back up. Hey, let's set up another time. It's good when it's consensual, when you're both agreeing to a said time to talk about these things, to have these conversations. And so those are my brief tips on how to have dialogues about politics, because it really does make a difference. These decisions being made for us are huge, and there's so much you can do. And so I encourage everyone to open your minds and your hearts and be brave, and to have these hard conversations, because they're uncomfortable, they are hard, yet they matter. And it's our only way to if we do nothing, then nothing's going to happen. So it is a step to making a difference. I appreciate you listening. Please follow my channel, me on my social media, as I do Positive Reframes weekly. And if you have a suggestion of when you'd like to hear, please leave it in the comments. Take wonderful care.